Many devotees will be in Vrindavan now, and they will all be lighting lamps and remembering the pastimes of the Lord. And if you are not there, you don't have to despair, because our acharyas tell us that being physically in Vrindavan is very good and very auspicious. But if we are in Vrindavan without the proper consciousness, then it doesn't make much sense. However, if we are right now here, and if we have the proper consciousness to absorb ourselves into the mood of Vrindavan, then actually that becomes the real Vrindavan. So Vrindavan is more a state of consciousness than it is a geographical location. And that's why we are gathered here today, so that we can try to hear the wonderful pastime of the Lord that is actually normally chanted, sung, heard and glorified during this time of the year. And that is the form of the Lord as Damodara and his mother Yashoda. There's a small picture there actually that you can see if you come closer. And you will see that most of us know this pastime of the Lord. So even though we know the pastime, we should also chant and remember it, because not only is it traditional to remember the pastimes of the Lord, but the pastimes of the Lord are so powerful that they actually cleanse our heart of all traces of misfortune. Sometimes it is stated in Bhagavatam that this misfortune does not mean that we are unfortunate. Misfortune simply means, in spiritual terms, that we have forgotten the purpose of our existence. Very often when we are so caught up with material acquisitions and material life, it's very easy for us to forget that there is a purpose to our existence apart from material acquisitions. And no matter what we do, we should also realize that how much of material acquisitions we may acquire throughout the duration of our lives, the fact of the matter remains that at the point of death, none of this is going to come with us. The only thing Shastras say that will come with us is actually our devotional service. And that is known as bhakti in Bhagavatam. So it is very nicely stated in Bhagavatam by Kapila Dev, whose mother was Devahuti. He chants this very nice instruction to his mother. Na karhinchin madparaha shanta rupe nang shanti no me nimiso ledi hedihi yeshamaham priya atma sutascha sakha guru suhridam daivamishtam. So in this verse, Kapila Dev tells his mother, my dear mother Devahuti, please know one thing, that in this life, the only thing that cannot be destroyed by time, the only thing that cannot be destroyed by any weapons of any kind, is actually one's devotional service. And Kapila Dev says this devotional service is our one true wealth. It is our one true opulence. Not the bank balance, not the CPF, not the properties, but our devotional service. And he says, while time destroys everything in this world, it cannot destroy bhakti. And that is why even if we leave this sharir and go to the next sharir, wherever we have stopped in bhakti, that bhakti continues. And that's why we're all gathered here today, because this is another journey point of our devotional service. But Kapila Dev also says in that verse that there is a reason why these devotees have such an opulence known as bhakti. That's because yesham aham priyam sutta atmascha. He says very nicely that these devotees of the Lord, they have enshrined Krishna in their hearts with so much of love and affection. That is the qualification of a great devotee of the Lord. That in their hearts they know nothing else and no one else except Krishna. They understand everything that they have in relationship to Krishna. They understand that their wives and their husbands and their children are not their property. Because if they were their property, then they would take it with them when they leave. But they cannot even take their own bodies, what to speak of those whom they love. So Bhagavatam makes it very clear that when a devotee understands everything in relation to the Lord, then instead of using something or exploiting it for his own material progress, the devotee actually utilizes whatever he has in the service of Krishna. In other words, we see our children, we see our wives, we see our parents, we see our properties, we see them all as part and parcel of Krishna. In other words, they are given to us for a purpose. And the moment we have this understanding, then we learn to serve them. We do not wait to be served. This servant mood is the prerequisite for devotional service. The moment we have pride and false prestige, thinking that we should be served, then our minds become disturbed in this material world. So you will see that in all the pastimes of the Lord, you will find that the hallmark of every devotee has always been simple devotional service to the Lord. Nothing complicated, very simple. And this is the same thing that we find in this pastime of Damodara. In the pastime of Damodara, Mother Yashoda, his mother, woke up in the morning in Vrindavan. And it was on the day of Diwali itself. This is very important. So the day of Diwali is actually the day when this Lila happened. And Bhagavatam tells us that when Mother Yashoda woke up in the morning, she dressed herself very nicely. She wore beautiful sari with wonderful bangles and earrings and anklets. And Bhagavatam tells us so much of amazing and accurate description that we are even told of what is the color of Mother Yashoda's sari. She wears a color of sari which is yellow saffron. It is yellowish saffron color sari. And she dresses herself very beautifully. And then she comes to the kitchen. Now, she has so many maid servants because Yashoda Mata owns one of the largest number of cows with Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan Dham. So she had so many maid servants. But that morning, she decided that she wanted to actually churn butter personally for the pleasure of her son, Krishna. And it was very early in the morning, so Krishna was asleep. And Mother Yashoda decided, let me churn some butter. I don't know whether any one of you have actually done the traditional method of churning butter, but we would have seen, some of us may have done it, some of us would have seen our parents doing it at least, but you would know that it is an extraneous activity. It's not easy to do it. It requires endeavor. And Mother Yashoda started pounding and churning the butter, but while she was doing that activity, her mind was not running everywhere else. That's the difference between the devotees and the non-devotees. The non-devotees perform mundane activities and their minds are filled with mundane activities. The devotees perform what apparently looks like mundane activities, but their minds are fully filled with spiritual thoughts. There's a difference. So Mother Yashoda was churning butter, but she was doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. So the object of her love was Krishna. And therefore Bhagavatam tells us, as she started churning butter, she began to compose prayers in glorification of Krishna. She remembered all Krishna's pastimes, when Krishna killed that demon, Putana, when Krishna was caught by another demon, and she kept remembering his pastimes. And the more she remembered his pastimes, the more blissful she became. And she forgot her fatigue. So one good solution to all of us forgetting our fatigue in this material world is to constantly remember the pastimes of Krishna. I tell many devotees that if you feel very tired at any point of the day, you just chant Krishna's names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is very easy to chant, doesn't cost you anything, it doesn't hurt by chanting. The only thing is that you have to cross your mind and get your tongue to be engaged in his chanting. So Mother Yashoda chanted Krishna's names and she remembered Krishna very much. And the more she remembered Krishna, the more blissful she became. And at that point of time, Krishna himself, who was sleeping, got up from the room. And when he got up from the room, he immediately came to his mother. Why did he come to his mother? He came to his mother not out of accident, but he came to her because Mother Yashoda was putting so much endeavor and remembering Krishna. And Krishna reciprocated that loving exchange. This is bhakti. You'll find in this pastime that a characteristic of a devotee and the Lord, their relationship is always built on loving exchanges and reciprocation. Very important. In this material world, whenever we engage in any relationship, we are also looking for reciprocation. But very often we find that we have very high expectations which very often are not met in relationships. Sometimes they're all right, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we give some affection to somebody, but the person doesn't give affection back to us the way we want them to. And very often we become disappointed. But with Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with every devotee exactly according to that devotee's mood and the devotee's state of consciousness. And that is why a relationship with Krishna is always consistent, it is always blissful. Consistency is a fiction of the material world, but it is a fact of the spiritual world. And therefore, at that point of time, Mother Yashoda was so happy, because as she was thinking so intensely of Krishna, Krishna reciprocated by coming to see her. And not only did he come to see her, he came and he stopped her from churning butter. He put his hand on the churning rod. And this was an indication that she should stop what she was doing. And he indicated that he was very hungry for milk. Now, Mother Yashoda's love for Krishna was so powerful that she could actually command her son to wake up and come to see her, just on the strength of her devotion. And Bhagavatam says, when Mother Yashoda realized that Krishna wanted to be fed, she became exquisitely delighted. And she picked up Krishna, she embraced him very much, she put him on her lap. And Bhagavatam tells us that because of Mother Yashoda's spontaneous love for Krishna, milk was already flowing from her, even before she started feeding her child. That was how much spontaneity of love and devotion she had. And so when she started feeding Krishna, she looked at Krishna with love, with affection, and with devotion. And again, these are the three qualities that are only needed to approach God. No amount of material education is needed. Hanumanji was not a holder of any degree. Hanumanji had no proper house to invite Lord Ram. Hanumanji had no educational qualification. He did not come from a high parentage. He was just in a monkey form. And yet, Lord Ram embraced him as his dearmost friend. So the whole of Bhagavatam tells us that material qualifications do not impress Krishna. Krishna is not impressed by them. Because very often, material qualifications become the source of great false prestige and pride. In fact, Kunti Mata in the first canto, 8th chapter says, very nice point. Mind you, she's Queen Kunti. But this is her prayer to Krishna. Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribir Edamana Madaha Puman Nai Eva Arhati Abhidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gochara. The meaning is very nice. She prays to Krishna, oh dear Krishna, sometimes people have high birth, Janma. Sometimes people have lots of money, Aishwarya. Sometimes people are highly educated, Shruta. Sometimes people are very beautiful to look at, Shribir. All these are considered in the material world to be great qualifications. If you have any of these, or if you have all four, you're considered highly fortunate, very good looking, very educated, possessing a very good parentage, and your bank account is so full you don't know what to do with it. It's considered to be amazing. But Kunti Mata says, when one possesses any of these or all four of these, what happens is, instead of becoming humbler, Edamana Madaha Puman. Edamana means increasingly, progressively. We become increasingly and progressively attached to these material things. And we run after them and run after them and run after them. Nothing is ever enough, even though we say, I have enough. But tomorrow when someone else has something more, we are hankering already. So Edamana Madaha. Madaha means intoxication. Okay, I've been told to make an announcement. We have a happy problem. The house is too small because there are too many devotees coming, and that's a very good thing. Please come forward. If you can come forward, that'd be good. And if there's some space at the back, well, you can also give some space so that those who are on that side, perhaps they can also come in here and we can also see them. Get comfortable. Everyone is all right? Okay, good. So Kunti Devi says that when we have so much of material opulence, the tendency for us is we become very attached to it. We become intoxicated by it. And we lose remembrance of where these things have come from. In other words, we forget that everything is coming ultimately from Krishna. If Krishna wants, he can withdraw anything. We may have everything, but if tomorrow we fall sick, all the money in the world will not save us. We may have everything, but if those whom we love one day fall sick, if with all the money in the world, we also cannot save them. We've all been in these helpless situations, no matter how much materially acquired we are. And that's why Kunti Mata says, those who become very attached to material opulence, they do not deserve to actually have your darshan. Why? Because they cannot approach you with feeling. Such a nice point. She says they cannot approach you with feelings of devotion. Mother Yashoda had actually no such material qualification, but her whole and soul was Krishna. There was nothing else to her. That's why the gopis sing so nicely. Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavi biriditam kalmasapaham shravana mangalam shrimadatatam bhuvi granantiye buride janaha. So in this verse, the gopis say that Krishna, Tavakatamritam, there is nothing more nectarian in this world than hearing about your glories, than hearing about your pastimes. Nothing else fulfills us as much as that. And they say these kathas, they are not only nectarian, but they are tapta jivanam. They actually sustain our very life, our very breath. This is the mood of the devotees. And so Mother Yashoda was such a devotee. And because she was such a devotee, Krishna came out and he reciprocated with her and she fed him milk. Now as she was feeding milk, what happened was she had also put a pot of milk on the stove in her kitchen and it was starting to boil. Now Mother Yashoda was caught in a little bit of a fix. If she puts Krishna down now, he's halfway fed, not fully fed. And mothers, you know, there is nothing more grouchy in the whole world than a child who's half fed, isn't it? They tend to throw tantrums if they are not fully fed. But Mother Yashoda also had to save the milk because the milk was meant for Krishna. And she was afraid that if it boiled over, then Krishna wouldn't get the best milk that she had actually got from the cows for Diwali. Now, if you read the Shastra at this point, you will find in the commentaries the Acharyas say something very interesting that you can relate to. The Acharyas say in this material world, we are always caught between conflicting situations which look like equal priorities. And very often we don't know which one to do. We wish we could do both at the same time, but we find it's very difficult. So even in the spiritual world, sometimes we are put in that situation. Do I save the milk and put down Krishna? Do I keep feeding Krishna and forget the milk? So Mother Yashoda was caught in that situation. But she prayed in her heart for guidance. And Bhagavatam tells us very nicely in Bhagavad Gita it is stated, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. This is the 10th chapter, 10th verse of Bhagavad Gita. It's one of the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita. And it gives us a clue on how to deal with these situations. There Krishna says, to those who are exclusively devoted to me, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. In other words, when we are faced with difficult situations, a devotee depends on the Lord within for guidance. And by intuition, Mother Yashoda decided, better I save the milk. So her action was not wrong, because as you will realize in this pastime, if Mother Yashoda didn't go into the kitchen to save the pot of milk, Krishna would not get angry and start breaking things. And we would have no pastime to remember him by. So very often, when a devotee is trying or is faced with difficulties of the material world, he comes under the shelter of Krishna. And therefore Krishna's energy gives the devotee the right guidance and intuition on what to do and when to do it. This cannot be tested until you try it. Like everything else, this is what we call science. If you say, how can that be? Then our response to you is very simple. Go test it. We have a theory, you go and test it. And when you find it works, come back and share it with us. Because it actually works every time. Right? So intuition is not a mental speculation. Intuition for a devotee is a spiritual process. It is. Because Krishna is always in the heart. So this is a very important point from Bhagavatam. So Mother Yashoda goes to save the milk. But what happens now? Krishna is put down and Krishna becomes very upset. When I say upset, it means he's transcendently upset. He's thinking, now Mother has put me down and I must play the perfect part of the perfect child. If I was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I should just be lying down in Yoga Nidra and I shouldn't be bothered about milk or not. But I'm not in that form. I'm in the form of a child. So Bhagavatam says Krishna now started crying because he got very upset. And then his cheeks became very red and his lips became very red because he was very angry. And what did he do? He got up, he picked up a stone and he smashed the pot that Mother Yashoda was lovingly churning butter for him. The moment he smashed it, he realized he had done something wrong, like all children do after they have done something wrong. But he also went one step further. Since I've already committed the crime, Mother Yashoda is going to get upset with me, but the butter tastes good, isn't it? So let me eat the butter first and then I will run. This is a sign of a smart thief. He's going to get caught. I might as well enjoy the money for a while before I get caught. Krishna is very transcendental. So he took the butter, he ran to a solitary place, he ate the butter in relish and then ran away because he knew Mother Yashoda would come. And true enough, she did, because she came out and she saw the scene of the crime and it was so bad. Everything was all over the place. She thought, where's Krishna? But then Bhagavatam tells us Mother Yashoda was not upset. In fact, she was smiling. And she was thinking, my boy is very smart because he knows that if he hung around, he'll be in trouble. So he's run away. This is the mood of a devotee. And this is mood of mothers also. Even though we try to discipline our children very often, we also cannot help but find them very adorable, even when they're very naughty. Isn't it true? Of course, we can't show them that. Otherwise, they know that we find them adorable. So in the same way, Yashoda Mata decided, even though Krishna is very smart, even though he is the love of my life, I need to discipline him. Today, especially on Diwali day, I have to make sure that I stop his habit of stealing butter, because that was what he was doing all the time. Mother Yashoda was a worried mother because Krishna went to everybody else's house to steal butter and hardly ate in his own house. You think about it. You have your own child and he doesn't eat breakfast, lunch, dinner at your house, but he knocks on his neighbor's door and he keeps eating there. Mothers will become very insecure. What's up with my child? And Krishna was the same. So what happened was, Mother Yashoda decided, I will need to take the stick and I will need to discipline him. So she walks into the storeroom because Krishna's footprints are there in the butter. Not difficult to find out where he is. When Mother Yashoda enters the storeroom, she sees an amazing sight. The storeroom is very large and there are many pots of butter hung and they are all kept there for Krishna. In fact, the whole house is designed in such a way that everything was for the satisfaction of Krishna. That is the mood of a devotee. So Mother Yashoda then saw a glorious sight. She saw Krishna seated on a mota, and the mota was quite high. And on top of the mota, he was actually tall enough to break the pots and let the butter flow. And as he took the butter, he started feeding all his friends, who were the great exalted monkeys of Vrindavan. If you've been to Vrindavan, you know Vrindavan are famous not for devotees, but sometimes more for the monkeys. Many monkeys in Vrindavan. But these monkeys in Vrindavan are actually considered to be exalted devotees, yogis, sages, saints, who actually came to a certain point of spiritual realization and for some reason or another could not attain perfection. But Krishna is very kind. He allows them to come back in Vrindavan where they can serve him. But this particular group of monkeys who surrounded him, they were very special. Because Krishna was taking butter from his hands and he was feeding each one of them personally. And they were all very happy. And these monkeys, Shastras tell us, were the same Vanaras who appeared with Lord Ram in Ramayana Lila. And there they built the bridge and they served Lord Ram so wonderfully, to the extent that Lord Ram, before he finalized his pastimes then, he asked them, my dear Vanaras, you have served me with so much love and devotion. What is it that you want? Ask me for anything and I will give it to you. Now when someone asks you for that and asks you to ask for anything, it's so easy for us to start going through our wish list. The Vanaras only had one wish list. Their wish list was Krishna. It doesn't matter. Lord Ram, it doesn't matter. Anything material we don't want. Because material things make us forget Krishna very often, unless we use them in Krishna's service. This is a house, it's material. But Mataji and Prabhu are using it for Krishna's service because you're all here. That is spiritualizing your activities and your property. So the Vanara said, we only want one thing, that when you come back again, my Lord, in your other pastimes, let us also be given a chance to come back to serve you directly. We want to serve you. You don't serve us. We serve you. And Lord Ram remembered that. And years and yugas later, in fact, right? What happened was, when he came as Krishna, the monkeys came in Vrindavan. And they came as his good friends. Last time, the relationship was very formal. Lord Ram was king and the monkeys were his servant. But in Krishna Lila, they just got an upgrade. They became extremely close to him. And they were actually on par. That's the beauty and mercy of Krishna. And this time, Krishna did not fulfill their desire. Their desire was to serve him. But in this Leela, Krishna served them. He served them butter. So in this Leela, the Leela starts with Mother Yashoda. It starts with the relationship between Mother Yashoda and Krishna. But halfway through the Leela, we go to another relationship also within this relationship. The relationship between Krishna and all the other monkey devotees. That was also very special to him. This is the greatness of Krishna. Krishna's love is so expansive, not expensive, but expansive, that he can accommodate every single living entity's love and reciprocate with them, and they will feel as if nobody else is there, and only I'm in love with Krishna and Krishna is in love with me. Nobody in this material world can do that. If you do that, you get into trouble, basically. But in the spiritual world, Krishna can do that. And so Krishna was so kind to the monkeys that he fed them so well, and they became very satisfied. And he fulfilled his promise to them in this Leela. But the moment he fulfilled his promise, time was up. Because Mother Yashoda stood there with a stick. And the moment the monkeys saw the stick, they disappeared like monkeys do. And the only person left behind was Krishna. Bhagavatam tells us while Krishna was feeding, he was constantly and anxiously looking back to see if Mother is going to come. But at the time when he became so absorbed in feeding, he missed his mother. And she was there with the stick. And the moment he saw her, he exhibited the great characteristic, which is very uncharacteristic of the Lord. He became fearful. And this is amazing, because Bhagavatam tells us that even the Lord of Death, Yamaraj, he himself is fearful of Krishna. It is said in Bhagavatam that the wind in the universe blows out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said in Shastras that the fires of the world, they rage in fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shastras tell us great demons are always fearful of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they're very envious of him. And yet, this same Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became fearful of a simple, ordinary housewife in an ordinary town called Vrindavan. She had no weapons. She had no great strength. She was just an anxious mother who was going to discipline an errant child. That's it. But this shows you the great devotion of Mother Yashoda. And it shows you the great mercy of Krishna. Krishna became the perfect child. So Bhagavatam says that he started exhibiting the symptoms of one fearful. What did he do? He started crying. And as he rubbed his eyes, the kajal and the mascara that he had started falling down his face like rivulets, He had shark-shaped earrings and he had so much jewelry on him. But because he was shaking in fear, they were all rhythmically shaking with his body too. So they must have produced some pleasant noise actually. And all the time he was looking at Mother Yashoda's stick. And he looked very, very fearful. Now, another word the acharyas use is that Krishna's tears were false. They were false. If you read Bhagavatam, you'll find that the word that's used is, he was actually crying with false tears. And the acharyas say, very often children are fearful of parents, but sometimes when they know parents are going to hit them, the best defense is start crying. And therefore, technically speaking, that is actually considered false tears, because they know that's the only way mother is going to soften. And that's what Krishna did. And that's why in Bhagavatam, the word false is used, because he is the perfect child. And so with the false tears coming, Mother Yashoda's heart melted. And she thought, my dear Krishna, This is very sad, I didn't want him to cry on Diwali day. It's very inauspicious to cry on Diwali day, isn't it? So what does he do? What does she do? She puts down the stick and she says now to herself, I will not beat him, but I have to discipline him anyway. So at that point of time, Bhagavatam says, as Krishna was crying, he admitted to his mistake. He admitted to his offense of breaking the butter pot. So Krishna was also a good boy. He didn't say, I didn't break it. He admitted. He said, I broke it actually. So Mother Yashoda decided, all right now, that's in mitigation of him, isn't it? So what do? We still have to bind him, because she said, this child is very restless. Can't keep still for a while. Do you have children like that? I think most of us had children like that. They can't keep still for a while. And that is all coming from Krishna. Krishna was very restless during that time. So she said, better I bind him, because otherwise I can't get through Diwali in peace. So she saw this mota and she took ropes and she thought, Krishna's not very big, Like I say often, Bhagavatam says he's not a fat baby, he's not obese, nothing. He's very normal, but he has a small round belly like most babies do. So she took a bit of rope, she brought it around him, but she found the rope was 2 inches short. She tried again, getting more ropes, tying it, and she brought it around him, but it was 2 inches short. She got all the ropes in the house, and she had lots of rope, and Bhagavatam says they were hundreds of feet long, and yet they were 2 inches short. Now by that time, all the other elderly friends and gopis of Mother Yashoda had heard about this, and they started streaming into the house. Instead of helping her, they started laughing and smiling, and they were gossiping. Now we always hear of gossip, and normally in the material world, gossip is not something that we like. Technical definition of gossip is 2 people speak about the third person. What that actually means, implication of gossip means, when you two are talking about the third person, as soon as you go, your friend will speak with the next person about you, because you have become the third person. So generally speaking, we try to refrain ourselves from gossip. But in Vrindavan, all the gopis were big gossips. But the object of their gossip was only that Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why Bilva Mangal Thakur, in his Krishna Karnamrita, he says very nicely, Grahe Grahe Gopavadhu Kadambe Sarve Militva Samavapya Yogam Punyani Namani Patanti Nityam Govinda Damodar Mahadaveti. So he says, in every house in the evening, when they had all finished their work and they had nothing to do, all the ladies would come out and gather together, and they would all speak about Krishna. Hey, Krishna did this today, Krishna did that today, Krishna said this today, we saw Krishna doing that today. And therefore, when we want to talk about others, we should stop that. If we need to speak about someone because it's already become our habit, then let us speak about Krishna. That way, we purify our hearts. That's why spiritual life is so practical, that even in areas of gossip, you can become purified, provided you put Krishna in the center. And so all the gopis came together and they watched the show. And no one helped Mother Yashoda, because they found it very entertaining. Even Mother Yashoda started smiling, because she became astonished. What's wrong with this boy? He's so small, I've got so much rope, but it's always 2 inches short. And our acharyas say, it is at this point of the Lila that Krishna performs his vibhuti. Vibhuti means opulence. Vibhuti in normal vernacular language means miracle, but it's deeper than that. It means the transcendental opulence that only Krishna can perform. That's what vibhuti means. And this vibhuti in this Leela is the vibhuti where the rope never comes together. In every Leela, Krishna performs a vibhuti, and the acharyas explain it. And here the acharyas explain that these 2 inches represent 2 very important qualities in bhakti. The first inch represents the sincere endeavor of a devotee. Endeavor attracts the second inch, which is the mercy of the Lord. Both are needed for us to become fixed in bhakti. But endeavor comes from the devotee. When Krishna sees a devotee working very hard and sincerely for him, Krishna always reciprocates by giving his mercy. So actually by nature, Krishna's vibhuti is also known as swarat. He's independent. Nobody can bind Krishna. But here, Mother Yashoda actually managed to catch Krishna, and then later she managed to bind Krishna. So that's the amazing thing. When Krishna was on top and he saw Mother Yashoda, he ran. And Mother Yashoda tried catching him. She went all over the place in her house, but she could not catch him. And she became very, very tired. And when her saris became disheveled, the malati flowers fell on the ground, then finally Krishna looked at Mother Yashoda's endeavor and he became merciful to her. You see, the 2 inches, that's his vibhuti. And at that point of time, Mother Yashoda caught Krishna. And Krishna cannot be caught by any materialist. The demons also cannot catch Krishna. But Mother Yashoda caught her. Now she's going to bind him. But she could not bind him because of the 2 inches again. But because she was endeavoring so hard, again Krishna's heart melted. And with his mercy, he allowed her on the basis of her endeavor to bind him. And this is amazing. Because Mother Yashoda did not bind Krishna with a rope. She bound him with the rope of love. It is love. And the Acharyas say one more line that's very important. They said that when Mother Yashoda started trying to bind Krishna, the Acharyas tell us that Krishna was already bound actually. It's a beautiful point. He was already bound because he knew he would eventually submit to the love of his mother. But he becomes very encouraged when he sees his devotees stretching themselves. So we stretch ourselves so much in material pursuits in this world. Only each one of you know how much hard you are working in this world. But if we can translate a portion of that energy in our relationship with Krishna, how much bliss, how much love, how much peace, and how much of happiness we actually will get. And this is what we call everlasting happiness. This happiness doesn't go up, down, up, down. It is always with us. So this is the greatness of Krishna. And Mother Yashoda then managed finally to tie the rope around Krishna. And she became a very happy mother. And she went into the kitchen to do all her Diwali work. But Krishna cannot keep still. And so at the end of this pastime, Krishna speaks. And he says, my mother is now very happy thinking she has bound me. But who can bind me? I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, I will now do what I want. And what do I want? I want to go between those 2 trees, which are at the back of my courtyard, and I want to go between them. Just like children do that when they play. So there were 2 very big trees at the corner of Mother Yashoda's courtyard. They were known as Yamal Arjuna trees. I'm looking at the 2 lamps and I'm just imagining 2 big trees. And Mother Yashoda decided Krishna decided, let me crawl between them. So as he started crawling, the vertical motor turned around and became horizontal, and it rolled with Krishna. Now when Krishna came, he was very small, so he got through. But the motor got stuck between the 2 trees. Krishna is very powerful, right? He's so powerful that he is the creator of this material universe and the spiritual universe. 2 trees are not going to stop him. So with a gentle push, Krishna pushes it. And the moment he does that, the entire 2 trees, by the force of the motor, they come crashing down. And when they come crashing down, a loud din is heard. And 2 beautiful devatas appear in place of the trees. They look very effulgent and very handsome. And they bow before Krishna. And now Krishna asks them to explain their history. And the 2 devatas say, we are the 2 sons of Kuvera. Our names are Manigriva and Nalakuvara. Many, many, many years ago, because we are the sons of the superintendent of wealth, we became intoxicated by false prestige. And being intoxicated by false prestige, we were just moving around the world in material enjoyment. One day we moved into the area of the gardens where Lord Shiva resides, and there's a beautiful lake. And there we became intoxicated with beverage. It is stated in Bhagavatam that the alcoholic beverages found in the heavenly planets are 100 times more tasteful than the ones you find here. And they are actually considered to be extremely potent. Bhagavatam even has examples of such beverages. Bhagavatam has everything. And therefore, these boys became completely intoxicated. And they did not see Narada Muni, the great sage, passing by. When he passed by, other persons who were intoxicated in the lake, they came out. They put on clothes and they bowed before the sage. But these 2 boys came out with no clothes on. And without any respect, they just stood before Narada. Narada became upset not the way you and I become upset. He became upset because he was very compassionate. He asked himself, why are these two boys so elevated as their father? They are devatas. Why are they wasting their time in intoxication? What will intoxication bring them? It will only bring them illusion. It will not bring them happiness. There is something much more intoxicating in this world than intoxicants, and that is spiritual life. And saying that, he said, I therefore curse them, that they should become trees. When they heard the curse, they became very upset. And Narada said, since you don't like to wear clothes anyway, trees don't wear anything, you become trees, it's as good as that. Your false prestige has not helped you at all. And at that point of time, Narada made one prayer. And that's why a sadhu's curse is always a blessing. Narada said, I pray that somehow or another you too will become trees. And one day Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will deliver you from your ignorance and your illusion. And having said that, thousands of years ago before this Lila, he went away. And for 100 celestial years, the Devatas stood as trees in Nanda Maharaj courtyard. And while they stood as trees, they saw Krishna moving around in the courtyard. They started becoming purified by hearing about Krishna, because they were in Vrajabhumi, where everyone is speaking about Krishna. And at the right appropriate time, Krishna enacted this pastime and he delivered them. And this last point is very important. When Krishna talks to the two boys, he tells them something. He says that, frankly speaking, I have nothing to do with both of you. But because my devotee Narada has prayed for you, and because he is such a dear devotee to me, therefore it becomes my duty to maintain his promise and to deliver both of you from material life. And this is the greatness of the blessings of pure devotee. So in this pastime, if you think very carefully, there are actually 3 ropes that are put around Krishna. The first rope is the rope that the monkeys put around Krishna from the time of Ram Lila. Because of their devotion to him, Krishna became bound to them as Lord Ram, and later he became bound to them as Krishna, and he reciprocated by feeding them. The second rope is the rope you see that Madhya Yashoda put on Krishna, and that rope also is about love, it's not about rope. And the last rope is a rope that happened 100 celestial years ago. It was the rope of a promise of a devotee, a prayer by a devotee, that somehow these two boys should be delivered. And Krishna became bound by his love and by the promise to his devotee that he is always the servant of the devotee. So this is the greatness of this Leela. And therefore, when Krishna actually delivered these two boys, Bhagavatam says that when they went back to wherever they came from, Krishna then came back again to where he was. But mind you, he was still bound to the mota. He was not out of the mota yet. And he also did that pastime, honoring his mother's tying him to the mota. It's only after a little while, when they heard the crash of the 2 trees coming down, that Nanda Maharaj and the other Gopas came out and said, what happened? And they saw these 2 trees down. And they saw Krishna there. They saw the mota. And they were thinking, was it the wind that blew the trees down? They're so strong. Did some demonic personality come and crash the trees down? And then the Gopas say, no, I think it's your boy Krishna. He's a very unusual boy, you know. Have you noticed how when he's always been here, so many demons come to Vrindavan, but they all get killed? And like that, they were thinking about how great Krishna is. And this is why the Vrindavan residents are special. They never saw Krishna as supreme. They saw him as a boy. Sometimes they thought he's very extraordinary. But in a few moments, they'll say, no, I don't think Krishna actually pushed the 2 trees down. He's just Krishna. He's a little boy who runs around and he steals butter. It cannot be him. But they don't realize that when they start thinking that way, it is because Krishna always put the energy of Yogamaya over these devotees, because he did not want them to think of him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can never be on the level of these devotees. We should not even try. But how do we then reciprocate lovingly with the Lord? By serving the devotees of the devotees of the devotees. It is known in Shastras as Bhaktai Bhakta, janapriyaha. Krishna says, even the devotees of my devotees become very dear to me. So today, on this auspicious day of hearing this Lila, we pray to Mother Yashoda, not to imitate her, but to follow in her footsteps. These pastimes may sound like very story-like, but when you actually narrate them from the basis of Shastras, you now realize how practical they are, how many important qualities they give us to make us understand how to transform our lives to become better devotees. So never ever think that these pastimes are mythical. Never think that they are mythology, because they are not. The very word Puran means ancient history. The Western civilization would want you to think that these wonderful stories have no meaning. But we come from such a grand civilization, and every single story from Bhagavatam has so much to offer in our daily lives. So my humble request is that you take back this pastime into your heart. Frame Krishna and Mother Yashoda, and we must now try to imbibe the qualities that Mother Yashoda had. Sincere endeavor to Krishna, always remembering that Krishna is the object of our love. Finding a way in our lives to include Krishna more and more and more. And finding ways in which our children will grow to know Krishna. Because if we want our children to be connected to Krishna and peaceful, they will only do it if their parents are connected. Parents cannot tell children, please go and chant Krishna's names and you are watching TV. It doesn't work. Because they are very smart and they will tell you, why you want me to chant but you are watching TV? You have to sacrifice. That is your endeavor. And you will find that when you give them Krishna at an early age, no matter where they are, no matter how much difficulty they have, Krishna will protect them, because he will give them the right guidance from his heart. In the same way he gave Yashoda Mata the right guidance in her heart, and the way he gave Arjuna the right guidance in their heart, and the way he gave guidance to every devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande. When you all go home, we have at least till the 12th of November as the last day of Kartik Mas. My humble request is, get out your ghee lamps and put a picture of Krishna. You can Google a beautiful picture of Krishna with Mother Yashoda, go and print it out and put it up on your altar. And every day, remember this pastime. Light the lamps and offer it to Krishna. Now everyone is going to light lamps at the moment. Yeah, the lamps are coming out, so you need to give space in the front. And now every one of us are going to sing this beautiful Ashtakam